friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's Ink It Up tutorial, I'm going to share two techniques with you. I'm going to show you how to use decorative mask to create this color and texture on these ice cream cones, and how to use embossing paste, which makes it even more 3D. This is my second attempt at doing this live, so I hope you will join me again, and I hope that you're getting notified again by YouTube, because about 12 minutes into it, the last time it froze and I just had to delete it and start over because my phone froze. I had to restart everything. All right, so that's what happens. We just roll with it, but that's okay because I have a couple more examples to show you because we just made these in the last video. So now I can kind of start over and make those again. Hey, good. Susan, I'm back. Yeah, I had a technical difficulties. All right, so this is what we're making. We're going to look at these. I'll try to go faster, knowing that my bandwidth is awful and knowing that I'll stop all the chit chat and I'll try to say hi later, a little bit later, because that way I can kind of say hi all at once and not touch my camera. It's not that I touched my camera. It's that someone called and then the darn thing froze. All right, I didn't even answer. I even ignored the call and it still froze. But that's not your problem. You are here to craft and I don't like to do any drama. So I don't like to have any drama. Let's just get back into this. What I'm doing is I'm cutting some ice cream cones. We're going to start. I'll get into the products later if there's time. How about that? So what we're going to do is cut some ice cream cone toppers. This is from the Ice Cream Corner Suite by Stampin' Up. In our January to June mini catalog, right? Lots of products come in this suite, including really awesome designer series paper. So at the end of this video, if I can last that long, I'll show you lots of, maybe 15 total, including these two cards. 15 projects I created with the Ice Cream Corner Suite of products. So what I'm doing is I'm just punching out some ice cream cones using basic white cardstock, not the thick cardstock, just the regular basic white cardstock. If you just noticed what I did is I saved myself a lot of paper by punching down here. You see, if you punch down here, you don't need to waste the bottom. I'm not doing the bottom of the ice cream cone, so don't waste your punch. Don't go punching out that triangle shape unless you use it for something else. Just punch out your ice cream cones and save yourself the bottom of the paper. Now later, when I cut this out in cinnamon cider, I'm going to just use the bottom to cut the bottom of the ice cream cones because we're going to make these cards. All right, lots of trash. Let's move the trash. All right, so pattern mask. These are called decorative pattern mask. I do show you how to make these on my YouTube channel using your brother Scan and Cut. Here's the pattern mask that Stampin' Up sells for only $6 for 4 pattern masks. So why would I make my own for these ones? No way, because they already have this great detail etched in them. They're reusable, washable, and you got the tree pattern, the circle pattern, this sort of nature leaf pattern, and the swirly. This was great for Halloween sort of pattern. Okay, so when I teach about this masking technique, and then I show you the embossing powder, the embossing paste, this is embossing paste, then you can combine the two. You can combine the two techniques using these decorative masks. You can combine the technique of using embossing or masking with the ink, and you can combine the technique of using embossing powder, which is why I made this one tutorial, because everything I'm showing you goes together. So now what you're going to do is you're going to use your silicone mat. We're going to get this effect of the ice cream. We're going to use our silicone mat. We're going to put a couple of these ice cream cones down, ice cream toppers, and we're going to put these off to the side and use these a little bit later. We're going to put this right over the top. Now you're probably just saying, why didn't you just do this to a whole sheet and then punch them out? Well, I like how, I forgot to show you this. I didn't get to this part. I like how you could just sort of cut them out and then sponge over them. And it just gives them, when I do them separately, when I punch them out first, I get better defined edges. I can place the circles over the part where I want, so to make sure that there's circles all over the ice cream cone. I just have more control after I punch out the shapes first and then color them. That's my opinion. That's my preference. So I can kind of position the mask where I want it and color them that way, as opposed to coloring. I could have just colored a piece of paper, right? Colored the whole piece of paper and then punch it out. But for many reasons, I don't like to gunk up my punches. I don't like to gunk them up with any embossing paste, any inks, anything. I tend to punch out just plain old designer series paper, and I tend to punch out basic white because I don't want to have to wash this, right? Because if you wash steel, you don't want to have to add anything to your any things. What is it called? Any extra points of failure is what we call it, right? My husband is a technician. He's like, you don't want to add any. What are the points of failure that something could fail? We don't want to add anything to our punches, our little machine, right? So, all right. So now what I'm doing is, did you just see that? I just opened up the terracotta tile ink. Why terracotta tile? It's one of the coordinating colors in this designer series paper called Ice Cream Corner, which I'll show you later. And Ice Cream Corner coordinating colors, terracotta tile, and we're going to use Bermuda Bay as well to color these. So what I'm doing is I'm using a sponge brayer. B-R-A-Y-E-R. I know I have an accent. Sponge brayer. These are great. You just ink right onto your ink pad, and then you color your ice cream cones. I'm just holding. It doesn't move your item, which is nice because the sponge is really light. And I'm just kind of holding the mask onto the silicone mat. Okay, we have silicone mats. It's good to have more than one of them. I mean, they're great for crafting. Putting underneath your stamps to make sure you get an even stamped image. The silicone mats are wonderful for that. Also, you can put glue right on them, do your gluing and stuff, and then you can like wash them off. So we're going to be using the silicone mat for the embossing paste. And it's easy to wash off. And I had tried to go live earlier, but I had so much stuff that I had to wash and dry, and it was just a big hot mess. But now I'm back. All right, so that's how you make your little polka dots on your ice cream cones. Voila. And just while I have it out, I'm just going to go ahead and do the tinting. We'll do the tinting on these. So you want the dark, you do the dark first, and then you do the tinting. Oh, are you kidding, Nola? You know I have an accent because everybody laughed at me when I said donkeys. Right? Everybody still does it. I'm like, well, that's the way I say donkeys. I mean, hey, I don't know whether, and people are like, and my husband's like, I don't say it like that. I'm like, well, I don't know how you say it, but that's the way I say it. But anyway, yeah, I guess I have a little bit of one. Everybody does kind of show where they come from, right? By a little bit. All right, so there you go. There you go. That's the tinting. And then what you could do is if you want, you can either take, this brayer or your blending brush, and you could sort of go around the edges. It doesn't look like much now, but you are inking. You're kind of making the edges have a little defined edge so that they don't show any white. Doesn't show any white. So you can sponge around the outside. So that's how you color your ice cream cones. And now we're going to do one in Bermuda Bay just for reinforcement. And then we'll build the card, and then we'll move on to embossing paste. All right, so there we go. Now I can shut this for now. I'm done with, let's see. Let me look at the inside of this card to see what I did. Oh, I do need this again. So I'm going to leave this out. I need it again for the inside of the card. I don't know if you could tell, but I tinted the inside of that card. So we'll leave this out for a minute. We'll get back to that. So we'll make Bermuda Bay. So this part of my silicone mat has terracotta tile ink on it. Don't ink on the same spot. Move it down. I want to use Bermuda Bay, and I already got I don't know if you can see that. I already got my mask a little dirty, so I'm going to put the Bermuda Bay down here. Put those right here. We'll just do two of those. Okay, so let's put those like that. And I'm going to now show you how to do the same thing with another tool, because there's no right or wrong way. And it doesn't matter if you have, let me move my little thing so you can see my website. It doesn't matter if you don't have sponge brayers, right? If you don't have blending brushes like I have. Get a sponge out of your kitchen, for crying out loud. We sell sponges that are better use the best tool for the job if you can, but if you don't have the best tool for the job, I would say this is the best one for this decorative mask technique I'm showing you. But these blending brushes still work, and so do the little finger sponge daubers. And so does a sponge from anywhere. I mean, just a sponge is a sponge, right? You just need to get your ink to go on evenly. So what you want to do now, if you're going to use this kind of tech tool, this is the sponge blending brush. These are awesome. You want to dip a stamping block into your ink to control how much ink you put on these. because if you just dip right into your ink, they're gonna get too dark, I think, too dark. So that's how I control how much ink I put on it, is by dipping the stamping block into it, and then sort of tapping around, tap, 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 tap. Because this just tends to be a darker technique. It just seems to add way more ink than the brayer. So I'm going to tap. I will rub in a minute, but I have to hold it when I rub, because I don't want my ice cream cone to slip. My ice cream scoop. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to hold it there, and now I'm going to rub a little. So I'm going to hold it there with my finger, and then I can do the whole rubbing on it, because now it won't slip. But this little brush tends to slip more than the sponge brayer. Okay, beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, we're going to hold this one there. All right. Now I can do that again and again. Yippee-yi-yay. I am done with that technique. And then, I can close the ink, and now I can do what's called tinting. I'm going to tint it. Add a little tinge of color. Tap, tap, tap around. See how it slips a little, because even though it's on the silicone mat. There we go. And if you need more ink, you know where to get it. Rub it on your silicone mat a little bit. Tap it around. And every time you do it, it's going to be different. And if you say, oh, I got something different than the paper chef, oh yeah, well, that's okay. Because every time you do it, I get something different. Every single time it's going to come out a little different. And that's the beauty of crafting. And then we're going to do the edging. Now we're going to get a lot of ink for the edging. Go ahead and make it dark. And do the edging. Because you want you want the edges to be a little darker. You can't see it, but I'm making the edges darker. You maybe can see it, but it gives it dimension when you make things darker on the edges. And this goes for all kinds of stamped images and crafting, unless I'm cutting out a black outline stamped image. I'm talking about when you do the outline shapes. All right, so good. That one can be a little more tinged. That's the one I made earlier. Now let's talk about the card, and then we'll move on to while we have a table that's kind of neat and we don't have a big hot mess yet, then I can show you the embossing powder. Because once I do that, the embossing paste, once I do that, my table goes, we get lots of stuff on the table, and it gets very dirty. But that's okay. We're going to get dirty. It's going to be fun. So now we need the bottom. So for this card, we need the bottom of the ice cream cone. To do that, we're going to use a piece of cinnamon cider. Cinnamon cider is one of this cinnamon cider pattern. Cinnamon cider is one of the coordinating colors in the Ice Cream Corner Designer Series paper. So what you want is a marker. Just stand by for the marker, because you're going to get a little bit of a... When you use our Designer Series papers by Stampin' Up, you are going to get what's called a white inner core. You're going to get a white inner core, because unlike our cardstock, which is dyed all the way through, our Designer Series papers are not dyed all the way through. So I'm just going to... See how I'm punching to not waste a lot of paper. I'm punching just downwards. I started at the top. Before I started at the bottom when I made my ice cream cones. But now I'm making the bottom of my ice cream cones, so I'm starting at the top. And what that does is it eliminates me using extra paper, because all I need to cut out are these triangles, not the rest. Right? So you're not cutting out the topper again. You don't want to waste the topper. Okay, so now what I'm saying is, I think that's enough to get the point across. When you see that you have white, it just annoys me, right? This little white part coming out of the paper. So what I do is I take a marker, the brush tip side, and I just sort of color any whiteness around the edges of my ice cream cone. These are just little details that, make your cards look more professional, I think. Not that it even matters. No one would even be able to tell, except for you, except for me. I wouldn't care if I got a card from someone, but I just can't send out a card when I just like to have the little white edges, right? Not to mention it adds a little dimension, right, to the edge of it adds dimension to the edge of your ice cream cone. Just like I was doing with the sponge brayer. Now you're adding that little bit of dimension. It's like you did. I could have got the same effect, except I'm not going to waste coloring one of my sponge brayers, but I could have got the same effect by doing this with the cinnamon cider all around the edges. So I hope that makes sense. Now, Now we got the bottom of the ice cream cone and we got the top of the ice cream cone. I'm not going to glue the card and make you wait for all the gluing, but I do need to show you how I made the entire card. So I want to show you how I got this effect, right? This effect here, these ice cream cones. So now we're back to using the ice cream cone builder punch. And that's what we use. We use some purplish. And when I say purplish, it's a tinge of a purple posy, I believe. Purple posy is one of the coordinating colors, so is blackberry bliss. See how this purple posy is right in there? Yeah, it don't really matter. I can use the bottom of any, here, I can use this bottom. Bottom line is you want to take your ice cream cone builder punch. Put it near, let's see if I can put it near. Here we go. What's on the other side? Okay, this one is okay to cut through both sides because the other side makes a good ice cream cone bottom too. I'm just going to do that just to show you. See? So what I'm doing is I'm using the texture from the paper to make my ice cream scoops. And the back of that one's pretty cool for a bottom of an ice cream cone because it already has stripes on it. So it was okay to use to punch through that. Okay, so now you got a really cool textured ice cream scoop for the bottom. And now we need another one. Let's see, I used the Bermuda Bay color, or a tinge of the Bermuda Bay color. See, these papers have lots of tinges on them, and I just, tints. Okay. There we go. We'll use one of those for a scoop. Okay, I did waste the bottom of that because that's not going to make a good bottom of an ice cream cone, but it'll make a cute little top hat, right? Party hat. Put a little pom-pom on top. Put it on a critter. You got a party hat. All right, so anyway, back to this. This is the bottom of that. So this is how I made this card. We're going to now build the card, and we're going to build the inside and do a little stamping without adhering it all together. So you have, for this card, you have a piece of purple posy cardstock. You have a piece of Blackberry Bliss designer series paper from Stampin' Up. Ice cream corner suite. Okay. You have, let's get the little part you need here. You need a piece of, and I'll have the measurements in the description later, but this is a standard A2 card. Okay, we're going to put this down. This is a piece of basic white paper. Put that down, and I'm going to show you how I made the inside. Happy birthday, Blackberry Bliss. Happy birthday in Blackberry Bliss. So, here's our Blackberry Bliss. Okay, open up your Blackberry Bliss. Move that, and you want to put happy birthday from the sweet ice cream stamp set, part of the ice cream corner. See how it gets stained? Photopolymer stamps tend to get stained, but that's okay. It doesn't affect them. One nice thing about photopolymer stamps is you can see through them. So that's the benefit of them. I'm going to mount the happy birthday onto a stamping block H because it's a nice long stamping block. I'm going to go tap, tap, tap into the Blackberry Bliss, and I'm going to test it first. Oops, not dark enough. See, test it first on your grid paper, because if it's not dark enough, you don't want to accidentally put it too light of a stamp on your white paper. So it's dark enough now. Tap, tap, tap. Now I'm going to put it at an angle like that. Hold it for about 3 seconds. Perfect. And of course, I got my smudgy hands all over the outside, so I might want to flip that over. Here. Doesn't matter. I'm actually going to sponge color it, so tap, tap, tap. The ink doesn't go through, so if you do, yeah, that's better. Now I don't have my smudge marks. Okay, let's shut the Blackberry Bliss. We're going to now go back to the terracotta tile. I told you we'd get back to that. We're going to use our sponge brayer that we've been using. Have we been using this one or this one? Hold on. Huh. I think I'm going to use the light one. They're both probably terracotta tile, but this one doesn't have as much ink on it. I'm going to go inking up the edges, and I'm just going to sort of do that to the whole inside of the card. I'm just going to give a little bit of a tint of terracotta tile to the inside of my card. And it makes it sort of fun and blotchy, and then they go, oh, how did they do that? Right? When they get the card and they open up the inside and you write your message over it, someone says, oh, how'd they do that? You did it with a very light sponge brayer. That's how you did it. So that's how the inside of the card was made. And now we're going to show you how this was made. Treat yourself. We got, that's how the inside, see? Happy birthday with a little bit of sponging. Oh, I can even do a little more. Purple posy card. Now we're going to use the double oval punch. So we need this. We need treat yourself. If you're going to use the double oval punch, always stamp first before you punch. Always stamp your sentiment. We're going to use treat yourself. We'll use Stampin' Block D, and we're going to use Black Braid Bliss again. Okay, very important, because if you try to center that on an oval, it's very hard. But if you put the stamp onto a block and then try to center it onto an oval, it's very easy. So you'll see what I mean. Treat yourself. Where's the treat yourself? I'm just looking for it here. Treat yourself. It says, here it is. Treat yourself. It was very dark. I couldn't read it. So, mounting that onto a stamping block. Tap, tap, tap. Perfect. Here, let's not even use like a nice piece of paper. We can just use a scrap. So what we need is we need the big oval for that. Treat yourself. Let's see where it will fit right in there. So it's going to be around that area. So let's go ahead and stamp first and then punch. Stamp first and then punch. Don't stamp too close to the edge of the paper. Hold it for 3 seconds, because if you stamp too close to the edge of the paper, you won't get the full oval. Before you shut your ink pad, make sure you get this thing you want. See what I mean? Now you can center it exactly how you want and line it up. Whereas if you tried to center it onto the shape, here, let me just do this first. Okay, look, there's my cool little shape. But if I tried to do this, let's try to get a shape here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice this piece of paper. Okay. So here I have a shape, and say I tried to stamp onto it, trying to look through the stamping block, right? It's just a little bit harder. See, it's a little bit harder. You might cut off the Y or something, because the shape's not very big. I hope that makes sense. So it's better if you have a punch like this to stamp first and then punch it out. We're done with the Black Braid Bliss, and now what I did to that one, just so you can see how I got that technique, is I used the sponge brayer over the top of the whole thing. Just like that. So by the way, this is in right now, it's double oval punch is available in our January to June mini catalog, the double oval punch. It's pretty fantastic, and there's a stamp set to go with it. Once you do that, you know what to do next, right? Go around the edges. See that? Look at that dimension you're adding by going around the edges. Treat yourself. It's just better than having just plain white. You know, it just kind of pops it out, because I already have a plain white up there. Yeah. Okay, she puts the white cardstock on the colored cardstock so she can see better, is what you're saying. There we go. So that's good. That's how I got that effect. Okay, last, we're going to show you how you got the You're So Cool. You're so cool, you're so cool. Well, I think I already made a You're So Cool anyway, and I don't know. It's right here. I can go ahead and do it, but I think I already made one. But we'll go ahead and use this little stamping block the other side. It is Stampin' Block B. You don't need to have a lot of stamping blocks. If you only have a big stamping block, you can use it for all the things smaller than that item. But I just have a whole set of stamping blocks. Okay, I stamp once, get it there. Go ahead and punch. In this case, go ahead and punch the bottom. You just want a bottom oval. This one you can go ahead and punch first and then stamp onto it, because the You're So Cool is actually smaller than this, way smaller. So you have no problem centering it. So in this case, I punched it first. Then I can put this on there. It sticks to it. Perfect. Okay? So that's how you get that one. And now you need a little piece of Designer Series paper for the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. That's a piece of terracotta tile. And now you have dimensionals. Okay. For this, one dimensional is fine for that one. One Stampin' dimensional. Stick that on there. For this one, you need two Stampin' dimensionals. because you don't want it to be wonky or lopsided. Oops, 3 jumped on there. 1 jumped on it, wanted to hitchhike on there. Oops, I don't want to adhere this yet, just to save time. I just want to show you how I made every element of this card so that I leave no mystery to all my viewers. No mystery of how I got to this card. So where is the stuff I just had? Isn't it funny how you can just, oh, there it is. It's like you're stamping along and then everything disappears on your table. All right, back to this. We have a piece of the whole card. Here it is, the whole card. You get an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. You cut it in half. You score it. You get 2 cards out of one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So the card ends up being 5.5 by 4.25. Then you take your other layers, and this is 4 inches by 5.25 because it's a 1/4 inch smaller than everything else. You know how I made the inside. You adhere it with some snail, or it's actually called seal. Adhere it with some rolling adhesive. I don't use glue because glue gets lumpy, but I use rolling adhesive. Then you take a piece of designer series paper, 5.25 by 4 inches. You put that there. Then you get a bunch of little cute strips of designer series paper. And these are, you can put these wherever you want, but these are just pieces of 1 inch by 4. You see? You can just put them wherever you want. The idea in a card making is contrast. Because I wanted this to kind of contrast with the background, I put that little guy with the old olive polka dots down there. And then I put, that way it was contrasting. Don't use this pattern because you're already using it as a background of that one. So you'd use a different contrasting pattern. Here's some sprinkles. I'm just showing you how I made this one. I moved 2 down there to hold, not to hold, but to put this in front of. See, there's contrast that way. See why I didn't leave it white? If I had left it white, it would have just blended in with the sprinkles and it wouldn't stand out. But now it stands out. Okay, you got your ice cream cone. You build that. You put that one straight down with adhesive. You put that one on with seal adhesive. And you could put this one straight down and this ice cream straight down. But then you want to pop up the last ice cream, the one we did. You want to pop this one up with dimensionals. Okay, so that way you get the dimension like that. You see the dimension? And then lastly, you get another strip of designer series paper, plunk that down with your You're So Cool. And that's how I made the card. I'm not adhering at all just to save time, but there you go. And this ice cream can even stick up to the top a little. It can stick into that little section. Okay, so that's how I made the card. Then you're going to take some ovals because we always have extra, embellishments, right? Extra things that I kind of think look kind of drippy. They look drippy. They look kind of like ice. See these little oval embellishments? These are called oval rounds, and these are part of the Sand and Sea Suite, and you pop a few of them on there. Plop, plop, plop. Always 3. Vary the sizes. There's a couple sizes. You can vary them. Or not always 3. Always an odd number. Doesn't matter how many you use, but I tend to use 3, and I just plop them down with an odd number. So that's how to make that card. So now I'm going to move on to this card. And how is my signal holding up, guys? Is anybody buffering, or can you guys say okay if it's okay? My signal, and thank you all for coming. I'm sorry I can't say hi to all of you. The comments sort of scrolled away, and I can only see the last couple people. So I will definitely read the comments later. What we're going to do now, yay, good. Thank you, Anike, for telling me that my signal's okay. What we're doing now is embossing paste. I wanted to figure out a way. I've been struggling trying to get these little sprinkles to stick onto my ice cream for about a month now. It's been driving me stark raving mad. So you're like, don't you have bigger problems? No, not when it comes to crafting. And so I've tried glue, and I've tried glitter glue, and I've tried embossing paste and heat and stick. And I've tried all kinds of things to get these to stick. And I've even tried crystal effects, which kind of worked okay, crystal effects, but then I used up a lot of it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to use embossing paste. I'm going to use embossing paste, and then it's going to make my little sprinkles stick onto my ice cream. Now, that's not the only thing you can do with sprinkles. These sprinkles can be used for shaker cards, which a lot of my team members did, and I love that idea too. But I also wanted to use them as actual sprinkles because, after all, they're ice cream sprinkles, right? These are part of the ice cream corner suite. And they're made of this little spongy plastic, and so they're lightweight. And so I thought I'm going to use embossing paste. So now that's what we're doing next for this card. So we're done that card. And we're going to do this card. We're going to make a big old mess with we're going to take our silicone mat and we're going to flip it over. Because there's ink, there's terracotta tile ink on that side. And there's Bermuda Bay, which we are going to use Bermuda Bay. But we want to flip it over because we want a clean silicone mat. Okay? You're going to now take you're going to now dye, you're going to dye the embossing paste. You don't have to dye it. This embossing paste is cool just as it is, white, and you can make nice white ice cream. But we want to make Bermuda Bay ice cream, so I'm going to dye it. So I tend to use, I'm using my little, I mix it with this little, we have these, what's called palette knives. And I don't need this one at all, not for what I'm doing. But these two, I tend to scoop it out with this one. And then if I need more, I just scoop it out with this one. But then I mix it with this one because this one's a fine palette knife. So I'm going to scoop it out. So you're going to take a blob. I'm using our Shimmery White Embossing Paste. Because why use the regular embossing paste when you can get shimmer, right? Tap it in there. I take about 2 blobs, 2 scoops, right? Maybe even more than 2 scoops. Well, let's see. About this one for 1 drop. I'm going to put that much down. See, maybe 3 scoops. I can't remember how many scoops, but it's the color you want to make it. You just keep on adding scoops to get the color you want. Hopefully I don't need to dip back in, but that's why if I do need to dip back in, I'm going to keep that off to the side and not have to get I don't want to get my Bermuda Bay inside. The last thing you want to do is get color inside your Shimmery White Embossing Paste, because then you'll end up with colorful paste and you'll never be able to get it to go back to white. So you're going to take 1 drop of Bermuda Bay ink. You might add 1 more, but we always start with 1 drop. Then you do your mixing. So 1 drop of Bermuda Bay. See how concentrated that is? This is just a regular re-inker. And now you're going to mix it, make your ice cream. Yeah, I might need another drop, but actually I like it. I like it kind of lighter than the last one here. No, that's good. I don't need another drop. So now that I know I don't need another drop of ink, I can go ahead and get this off of there. See? Get it off of there. And that's when I'm going to probably have it all over my hands soon. But first I try to start with the tools. I really do try to be good. But then I end up, when it comes to decorating the ice cream cones themselves, I end up getting them all over my hands. Okay, so I'm going to put this one off to the side. And I'm going to put the embossing paste off to the side. So again, we sell shimmery embossing paste, but we also sell regular embossing paste without the glitter in it. But I'm going to show this to you in the light so you can see this fantastic glitter that I think makes the embossing paste so much better. So we're gonna stir it around, stir it up. There's a song I like to sing when I craft. All right, there we go. Let's look at that in the light. Let me get my light and turn it so you can see this glitter. Okay, there's nice glitter inside this embossing paste, making your ice cream shine. Now, this stuff is like concrete when it dries. So the idea is you want to get these sprinkles on there quickly. You know, so let's do some, not that quickly. I mean, we have 10 minutes. It's not like it's going to dry in front of our very eyes. But let's go ahead and make some ice cream scoops like we were doing before. Right? And you always got to get in there with your punch. So I have to just sort of get in there with my punch. Not wasting the bottom parts. Let's see. Kind of like that. All right, I think, yeah, 2 will be good for now, for what I'm doing. Yeah, the glitter makes it look icy. Thank you. That's what I was thinking with the ice cream. The glitter makes it look icy. So now we're going to take these little ice cream toppers, and we're going to glitter them up with and we're going to get ready, though, with our sprinkles. So get everything ready. You put your sprinkles on them while they're wet. And you can even heat set it. I did some heat setting. I don't think it mattered one way or the other, but I did heat set. Oops. Okay, well, let's put these on. Let's paint our ice cream cone, kind of thick, but, you know, not too thick, because it is going to be a card after all. You want to get this in the mail, right? So you don't want to make it too thick. But you want to make a nice layer so that these little ice cream sprinkles have something to sink into, right? So they stick onto something. So put this on there. Yeah, a nice little layer of ice cream. And if you're a cake decorator, go ahead and make it look like real icing or real ice cream with the little texture. I'm not a cake decorator, so I just did like that, and I went like this. Sprinkle, 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 and then I made them flat. Get a couple yellow ones in there. I let the extra ones fall off, so I put some in there like that, and then I pushed them down flat. Here, you know what would be good? That would be good to do with the other palette knife, right? You could push them down flat with that, and then it kind of sticks on there. And then they stayed. I didn't have to do anything else. I did a little bit of heat setting later, but I didn't really need to do heat setting. They just sort of stayed. And then the extra ones that weren't touching, this paste sort of just fell off on their own. They just fell right off. And I put them back in my little bucket of crafty goodness. I just dumped them in here, the thing that I'm using for my ice cream cones, all the ones that fell off. I didn't put them back in here because they have embossing paste stuck on them. But I did use them for later. So we're going to put that, we're going to make this flat like that. Ah, they're sticking on there. I'm so happy. And that's what made them stick for me. They stuck, and then I did a little bit of heat setting. So let's put that down and show you that. So it's really wet now and everything's sticking to it. And you can kind of tap them in so that it still looks like an ice cream cone. Like tap them off, tap them into the sides. Then what you're going to do is move that. If you're going to do heat setting, don't go heat setting over here, or this is going to dry like concrete, right? So you don't want to heat set it. You want to heat set it over here. Just make a little room. Okay, like, what I need right now is a wet wipe. So always have wet wipes handy. I'm just using like Huggies baby wipes. Okay, that's what I'm using, right? To get this temporarily off. Now you could use, like I use a little tweezer or something to hold it down while it's heat setting so it don't go blowing all over my table. I'm going to heat set it with the, where is it? Stampin' Up heat tool. But you don't need to heat set it. Like I said, when I dried some of these without heat setting, you like the embossing paste. Who just said that? Here, Anika. Yep, she's like, I like the embossing paste. Sorry, Sheila, it's a little blurry on your end. I don't have the best signal. It's probably buffering at a really low bit rate. All right, so what I'm going to do is hold one of the sprinkles down. My tweezers. Sorry, my hand's shaking. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to turn on my heat tool. I could tap a couple of those in there. There we go. Just tapping them down. There we go. Some of them are actually blue and they blend right in. Little darling, stirred up. All right, now I'm holding them down. Oh, they start blowing off. Can you see that? They're starting to blow off the table. So while it's hot, you might want to drip the, if it's still hot, you can stick a couple in there. All right, so point is, this is not dry yet. Obviously, I'm just trying to show you that the heat setting makes them sink in even better. Because these are made of this little rubber. You know what they're made of? I think it's the stuff erasers are made of. That's what I think they're made of. Is that fantastic? Now we have sprinkles that don't move. Yay! We have a 3D card. All right, so let's show you how I made that card. Okay, now, this card, and we're going to do this. We're going to add, so this is a combination. So we're going to take this part here, right? We're going to add some of the glitter to the top of that one. Let me close. I don't need any more sprinkles because you get the idea. So let me close the sprinkles. But do save your extra sprinkles. Take them and put them in your little bucket of crafty goodness and use them later because they already have embossing paste on them. Any ones that fall off. Now, take your extra little ice cream cones. It doesn't matter if they're Bermuda Bay or terracotta tile. And take your little spatula, your, what are they called? Palette knives. Oops, I better not say knife on YouTube. It's a crafting knife, you YouTube crazy people that are going to try to tell me I'm using a weapon and I'm not. It's a crafting knife. All right. Palette knife, and there we go. I just kind of do that. Or you can kind of even do that. So you could put your little ice cream sprinkles, or not sprinkles, but so this is combining the embossing paste with the decorative mask. You see that? And that's kind of how I got that effect. Actually, I spread it out a little more. I spread it out even more because then you get more sparkly. Kind of like it's dripping with a little bit more on the bottom than the top. See? It's like it's dripping down. You put the little bit and then you put the top. So that's how you get that effect. And again, that just dries. You don't need to heat set it. If you want to heat set it, just hold it down and heat set it. You can also use when you're heat setting. Just don't get heat on your fingers. You can use a little, here, I can show you that technique here. We are doing ink it up after all. You can use a little clothespin and hold it there and then heat set it. Alrighty, now let's show you how this one is made, and then we'll get back to this embossing paste where we tie it together. So let's show you this card. This card is an old olive card, and what I like to do, by the way, I like to clean up my craft table with some painter's tape. Whenever you have these little tiny bits. You know what also works good to clean up your craft room is a lint remover. And you can get those like at the Dollar Tree. So for this card, it was an old olive card with just did a plain inside, I think. Here, let's see. Or no. I did a thank you on the inside, but it's not sponged, so you get the idea of how I did the thank you. Bermuda Bay ink and a piece of designer series paper. Okay, so to do the inside, you just take Bermuda Bay, you write thank you. See, I'm already getting dirt on there. Designer series paper, you write thank you. Close that up. That's the inside of the card. So we don't need to show you. You don't need to know how to do that. You guys know how to do that. Then you take a piece of Blackberry Bliss, designer series. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? It's okay because this card was Blackberry Bliss, right? So therefore, I used the old olive background. Does that make sense? But now that I'm using an old olive card, I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss background. Not that this background won't work good. That background will work nice. It's a tone-on-tone card. But think contrast. That one works better as far as contrast. And then you take your little 2 strips of designer series paper, or whatever have you. And since I've already used that pattern, I would use this pattern, right? And since, here, we use that pattern. And then you want your little bottom of your ice cream cones kind of tilting, kind of like that. And you attach them straight with your, straight meaning, not straight. The paper straight, you touch those at like an angle, and then you're going to touch your glittery. Here's your glittery one. Just 1 scoop is fine. You don't need to put some extra dimensional on the back of that. Put a couple of dimensionals on the back, because if you don't do it soon, it's going to kind of warp a little bit. The paper gets a little warped, so once you stick it down with dimensionals, the paper will stop warping. And then you got the one with the glitter. Stick that over there like that. And then You're So Cool. You got your You're So Cool stamped in Bermuda Bay with the outline punched in the double oval right here. You're going to take your double oval punch and you're going to get a piece that looks really cool like that. That has a nice big blob. Here. Nice big blob of ink. So you're going to take your top of your punch and get in there and get that blob. See? That nice blob of ink. Now, you have that white inner core again. So here's where you use the terracotta tile marker. Not only that, it does a lot of dimension. Hi, thanks, Dolores. Thanks, Heather. I'm glad you guys... I can only see who's writing now, but I couldn't see you right at the beginning because I wasn't looking at my screen. But thank you guys for commenting. So now I'm using terracotta tile to go around this extra oval because it gets rid of that white inner core. And it adds dimension, just this little extra things. And then you're going to take your You're So Cool and you're going to put that on there with dimensionals. And voila, you have the card. Kind of like the card I just made, right? No 2 cards are exactly like. But it's like that card. That's how to make that card. You want to glue this one down or use rolling adhesive. And then you want to pop these up with dimensionals. See how they pop up. And the sprinkles will stick on your card. Okay, and then inside it says thank you. It says You're So Cool on the outside, and on the inside it says thank you. So that would be a great customer card. All right, before I show you the other projects and the suite of things, so let me now show you how this all comes together in one fun thing. So now we're going to take a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and we're going to put it down. Now I'm going to definitely make some room here. All right, because I don't want to get anything splattered on my nice cards. I'm going to put these cards off to the side. No splattering. All right, here we go. You take your decorative mask, and it has a lot of Bermuda Bay on one side, and it has terracotta tile on the other side. So I should probably wipe it off before I do this, what I'm showing you, because I don't want the terracotta tile. I don't want the terracotta tile mixed in with what I'm showing you. And I don't have time to go wash it because we're live on YouTube, right? So we just wipe it with a baby wipe. Good enough. If a little terracotta tile gets on there, so be it. Lay that onto your card at an angle, maybe like that. And maybe like that. I don't want the whole card to be done. Maybe like at an angle. Leave some room for your sentiment, right? So now what we're going to do is bring it all together. We're going to use a decorative mask, right? Let me move that out of the way from that darn light. A decorative mask with the embossing paste. So that's where we're bringing it all together. Put that over here. So we have our embossing paste that hasn't dried yet. So you're going to do this before it dries, and you're going to make some beautiful backgrounds using your decorative mask and your embossing paste. Okay, you're going to take your little spatula, and you're going to now, in fact, this one I would tape. This one you do not want to move because you got too big of an area and you don't want to risk it. So put some painter's tape on there before you start. And then you go to town, right? Go to town. Just start putting, just make your embossing paste, a thin layer of it, and go to town. Right? Put it all on there, whatever you have left. All your embossing paste you have left. I even got sprinkles stuck in there, but it doesn't matter. You're filling in all the circles, but it's not going to slip because I have that painter's tape on there, so it's not going to slip. Just get it all. And now I made about, with just 1 drop of ink, earlier I made like, 6 or something ice cream cones, but now since I only made 2 ice cream cones, you can then use the rest for a card background. So you can get, out of 1 drop of ink, a whole card background, even more because you'll have a couple extra, and a few ice cream cones, right? So you can get a lot out of it, right? You can get a lot out of it. So I'm just doing this to the whole card. Wait till you see this when I pull it up. And it dries so easily. But if you want to heat set it, of course you're always allowed to heat set it. But I just don't think you need to because it'll dry like concrete no matter if you heat set it or not. I think heat setting tends to sort of warp my paper a little bit. Whereas just using the embossing paste on the paper directly does not warp my paper. Okay, so now we have... Save this because before it dries, I think I covered all my circles. Save this because you're going to use it for your ice cream cones, right? Your extra glitter. All that glitters is gold. All right. Voila. Voila. Here we go. How fun is this card background? Let me get this tape off of there. Okay, let me put that over here. I'm going to have to definitely move my mat before I show you any of my projects because I don't want embossing paste on my bright, beautiful cards. Now this, when you get a little bit of embossing paste on your card, what do? You embellish. You put some embellishments down there. You just cover that with an ice cream cone or a popsicle. I hope you can see how that the glittery effect. But so that's what you do with your stamping mask. There we go. I'm just going to turn my light off to the side so you can see that better. So that, now I left the room for my sentiment. You could stamp right on there with the sentiment, your card background, and that's why I left a little bit of room. But also, you can take this and you can, cut. If you want to just do a bunch of these and then cut out the shapes with it, you can do that too. But wait till it dries before you cut out the shapes. Don't punch them out. I'm talking about like cutting them out with, like literally cutting them out with the die cuts and stuff, right? You wouldn't want to punch them once they have embossing paste on them. Because remember, you don't want to gunk your punches. Don't ever punch this now that you have embossing paste on it because you don't want to get gunk in your punches. All right, so now I'm going to move this off to the side so I can show you my projects because I don't want embossing paste on my projects. Let's put this over here. And what I'm showing you are things that I've recently shown on YouTube. A lot of you have seen this before, but you know what? Some of you just come into my YouTube channel and this might be the first video you've ever seen. So you might not have seen the videos that I've done recently. So of course, I'm just going to show you the recent projects. And if you want to know how to do them, you would then watch my recent videos on YouTube on the scan and cut. All right, so catch the rest of the replay later, Janet. And that's cool. Nice to see you. Okay, so see you later, Janet. I'm going to show you the ice cream corner ones first. And then I'm going to show you the ones that I made with the suite, but not with the same paper. All right, so first, this technique here. This is a thank you card I made using a technique of cutting out pattern paper with the Brothers Scan and Cut. I cut out the pattern paper and I used some Wink of Stella on these. This one is a stamping technique where I cut out the stamped image. Believe it or not, this comes from the stamped image. It's the shape that I get from this stamp set. So these are 2 different tutorials I recently did on YouTube where I showed how to cut out the stamped image. instead of cutting it out with ink, which I also showed, you can cut it right out with designer series paper. Those blotches I showed you earlier, make nice blotches. I think that's plain in the inside. Okay, here's another one I made. This is called a, what do we call this? A Z-fold card. So there's a little belly band on the card. And I decorated the belly band with patterns cut out with designer series paper. Then the belly band holds the Z-fold card together. And when you open it up, you get cutting out stamped images, this one too, cutting out pattern paper, using the punches, using the opal rounds. This is everything I just showed you. A lot of the decorative part is everything I showed you. This was just straight old ice cream scooper punch, cutting out pattern paper. Okay, so if you want to know how to cut out pattern paper with the scan and cut, watch those tutorials on YouTube. Here's a couple more examples. What I do when I send thank you cards to my customers is I like to tell them what products I used. So I like to, you know, put these stickers on the back. This is my website, paperchef.stampinup.net. I like to say I used the Sweet Ice Cream Stamp Set, Ice Cream Corner Designer Series paper. These cellophane envelopes, they're called clear medium envelopes. They hold the cards perfectly. And that's what I put my cards in, is I put them in envelopes like that, clear envelopes. Okay, again, this is cutting out stamped images and pattern paper and using some dies, using some extra dies. Okay, here's some more. I haven't photographed these yet, so you probably haven't seen them, but this is a simple technique. This is a very simple card using the technique of just taking a piece of designer series paper that I cut out with the scan and cut and popping it up on dimensionals. So I just used the plain background, but I popped up this ice cream cone, and then I colored it with Wink of Stella. It just gives it a little pop. Add some extra sequins, extra designer series paper. Here's where I cut a couple extra. This is like decoupaging, where I put one ice cream cone popped up on dimensionals, then another one, then another one. Then I cut out another scoop because not all the pattern paper cuts out evenly or equally. So I cut out another scoop to cover up any flaws in the back and just sort of put another ice cream scoop on top. Okay, so that's just another technique of decoupaging. Here's a card I haven't shown on YouTube yet, but I will take a photo of it soon. You're so cool. I just used a piece of pattern paper for these strips that had the popsicles already in it. And they were just lined up, so then I just put another popsicle on top of them to pop them up. So I took just plain paper and popped it up with popsicles. Okay, just plain inside blackberry card. Here's another one, just using dies, pattern paper. Okay, now the next couple, and then this one is a topper. It's an ice cream cone pen. I gave these as my prizes for my host code, those that used a host code on my website. I always have a current host code. And then there was prizes, and I gave these out with those prizes. These are little ice cream pens. It's called a gel pen, ice cream cone gel pen. I made little toppers for the ice cream cone gel pen. Now, I want to show you these last projects are taking your suite. You got your suite. You know how to use the ice cream corner suite. I'll show you the paper in a minute if I have time. I want to make sure I'm under an hour. All right. But if you don't have ice cream corner suite, like when I did my swap cards, I didn't have any extra ice cream corner suite, ice cream corner designer series paper. So what I did is I made my swap cards using the punch I had. I used the ice cream cone builder punch, right? But I then took a whole different suite of products and coordinated the colors. So what I did for these cards is I used the ice cream corner suite in that I used the punch and I used the little sprinkles from the stamp set. That's these little sprinkles here. But then I took the You're So Amazing, and I took that out of this not punch party. It's from this set. It's called the You're So Amazing. It's one of the what's that called? It comes with a project kit. The You're So Amazing birthday project kit. Anyway, and I used the double oval punch, but I used the sprinkles on top. So You're So Amazing with sprinkles on top. So the sprinkles on top part is from this ice cream set, and then the You're So Amazing is from the You're So Amazing set. But this paper is a whole different type of paper. It's another whole color scheme. And this paper is from the Fine Art Floral Designer Series paper. So Fine Art Floral has this really cool inside there. I think this would make nice ice cream cones. It has this really nice painted 3D texture embossing folder, which would make nice. I'm going to show you how I textured an ice cream cone with a different embossing folder. But anyways, what I did is, from when I was making my swaps, is I made a bunch with the Fine Art Floral paper. And those all coordinated together. See? So that's what I use, different kinds of colors to make those with. Okay, so you can use, if you don't have the ice cream corner suite, you can use another suite, but still use but then keep the color palettes that follow that suite. In other words, like this is pool party color of cardstock, so that's a different color palette. Okay, lastly, last couple things I want to show you about these ice cream cones. We have shown you today how to make ice cream cones and how to add different kinds of textures and colors to them. I showed you how to use the stamping mask and embossing paste. But this is, in a recent Ink It Up tutorial, I showed you how to use what's called the gilded leafing. And you use some heat and stick powder, and then you put the gilded leafing on your ice cream cone. So that's another way of adding texture to your ice cream cone. So that's one example of that. Okay, and here's just using plain old ink for your ice cream cones and just little note cards. So plain old ink, stamp the scoops and punch them out. When I say stamp the scoops, after all, you probably didn't even notice, but there's a scooper in here. You can stamp the scoops in different colors and you can just punch them out. So these are all different ways to use this suite of products. Now, in my bucket of crafty goodness, I did something else. And I was going to demonstrate it, but I only did it once and I never made a card out of it. But look what you can do if you emboss. So if you take your crystal, so I was trying to make a dripping effect is what I was trying to do with the crystal effects. And it makes a nice sort of glossy dripping effect. But then I rubbed it over my whole ice cream and it kind of made it all like my fingerprints were all over it. So what I did is I embossed it using wrapped in texture embossing folder. So you can emboss your ice cream cones and make them pop even more. I just never finished a card with it, so I didn't show that today. But see, you can make a cute ice cream cone by embossing. And this glossy, shimmery crystal effects, it just strengthens the paper. I did that, I let it dry, and then I embossed it. And it made the paper glossy and it strengthened it. So these are all just ones I have in the mix. Glittery ice cream cones that I'm going to be using to decorate with. Try to do things in stages so you get things done faster. All right. The Ice Cream Corner Suite is available now until June in our January to June mini catalog. It's a great suite of products. You saw how I used the stamp set, the ice cream cone builder punch, the sprinkles. I didn't use this ribbon. I want to show you the designer series paper. And that's how I'll end. So I definitely want to show you, that was it. That's the whole suite. A great suite of products with lots of coordinating colors. The designer series paper comes in a pack of 12 by 12. It has, each paper is double-sided. Lots of different designs to coordinate with your projects. I hope, let me see, I think I already showed you that piece. Okay, I'm going to show you the other side of it now. I think that's all 6 pieces, and I'm going to flip them over and show you the other side. So these are the ones I used on YouTube to cut out pattern paper with. There is one more. It's this piece here. Yeah, this piece here I didn't show you yet. So on one side it's the pattern paper, on the other side it's the cinnamon cider that makes a good bottom of the ice cream cone. Okay, so here's all the different pattern papers you can cut out. So loads and loads of fun with the Ice Cream Corner Suite. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to use stamping mask for embossing and how to use embossing paste, and then how to combine the two, the stamping mask and the embossing paste, to make fun card backgrounds like this one here. I hope you'll give these techniques a try. If you would like to get any of the products, they're available on my store. Thank you all for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you all for coming live. I'm sorry I didn't get to say hi to all of you, but I will go back and read the comments. I know you were here. So that's all for now. This is the Papered Chef.